Okay, so I'm just going to share my screen with you guys. Okay, so as I said, my name is Gina Friedman and I'm the Development Coordinator for Learning Abroad at Monash University. And firstly, I'd like to do what is known as an acknowledgement of country in Australia. Monash acknowledges the people of the Kulin Nations on whose unceded land our Caulfield, Clayton and Peninsula campuses stand. We acknowledge the Wurundjeri people on whose unceded land our Parkville campus stands. We pay our respects to their elders, past, present and emerging, and acknowledge the work of Indigenous Australians in making Australia a safer and more respectful community. So that's a little bit of an introduction to life in Australia. A little bit about Monash University. We're a global university and we have a presence on 3 continents. We're a very young university. We only had our first cohort of students in 1961 with just around 350 attending our campus. And now we're Australia's largest university. We're a really young university, which I think gives us a great dynamic and progressive outlook. We're really innovative and we do try and strive to be different and to really push the boundaries. We have an extensive global footprint. We have around 150 universities around the world that we work with on exchange agreements. And then we also have presences in Italy, India, China and Malaysia. Apart from that, we have our 4 Australian locations in Melbourne. We send around 5,000 Monash students around the world each year, obviously a little bit different in 2020, but we're looking forward to resuming that in 2021. And normally we have around 1,200 students incoming to Monash every year on exchange and study abroad programs. A little bit about the people that make up Monash. We have a really large student body across all of our campuses, so over 83,000 students from more than 160 countries. So you can see that we're really internationalised and a dynamic university. And around 1/3 of our students are international students. Monash University is ranked in the top 100 universities in the world. And just some recent rankings, we have reached number 64 in the world on the Times Higher Education World University Rankings. Some of our notable subjects where we're topped in the top 100 universities in the world, and more notably in the top 50 in the world, if you're a pharmacy student, if you're an engineering student, education, nursing, performing arts, a number of our sciences and humanities as well, and philosophy. So even if you were doing pre-med or pre-health at UW-Madison, we do have some opportunities for you to advance your studies at Monash. And for the engineering and technology students, we're the best university in Australia in engineering and technology for 2016 to 2019. Our business school is Triple Crown accredited, which means that we're in the top 1% of business schools in the world and only 1 of 2 in Australia. So that shows you that if you studied business at Monash University, that you would be getting a world-class education. So a little bit about our campuses. We have 4 Melbourne locations, and the ones that you will be most likely to attend are these 2 here, Clayton and Caulfield campuses. And Clayton campus is by far our largest campus with over 40,000 students registered. So our campuses and Melbourne is really built around a bay. And you can see that we have one of our campuses just outside of the city, and then we have 3 other campuses located around the Melbourne suburbs. Clayton is our largest and our main campus, and it's about 12 miles from the city of Melbourne. We have 8 faculties there, so if you were studying arts, social sciences, business, IT, engineering or science, they would all be at Clayton campus. You can live and study with a really diverse population of students. We have a hugely multicultural campus, a huge range of nationalities, of religions and of lifestyles, and it's a very welcoming place. This is where our on-campus accommodation is also based. We have a huge array of on-campus sporting, cultural, educational events. We run a number of different festivals throughout the year, and we have excellent facilities. Now, Melbourne is continually voted the world's most livable city, and Monash is very well connected to all areas of Melbourne via network transportation service. And we have a video here that I will make available the slides to you so that you can have a bit of a look at this video. It's a bit hard to see on Zoom, so I'll let you view that in your own time. The other campus that you might be studying at is Caulfield, which is our 2nd largest campus, and it's around 6 miles from the city of Melbourne. It's a smaller campus. There are 5 faculties where you can study arts and social sciences, business, IT, and also art design and architecture. There's a free inter-campus shuttle bus to the Clayton campus, so you can actually take courses or units, as we call them, at both campuses in the same semester. And we routinely have our full degree students do that because it's around 15 to 20 minutes between the campuses, so it's actually really accessible. There's a train station across from the campus, which can take you to anywhere in the Melbourne metropolitan area. There's a huge number of clubs and societies and great student engagement. And because there's no on-campus accommodation at Caulfield, they have what's called non-residential colleges. So these are some groups that can mirror some of the engagement that you get and the community involvement of living on campus, but as an off-campus student. We have some amazing and innovative learning spaces at Monash, and there's continual building and infrastructure so that we can make our campus as innovative and as cutting edge as we can for our students. So in the last couple of years, we've opened up some incredible spaces. Our learning and teaching building and biomedical learning and teaching building are just 2 places that you might find yourselves studying. So our semester schedule is a little bit different from what you would be used to, because our academic year runs from February to November. It's split into 2 equal semesters, and we have a dedicated Monash Abroad orientation prior to your classes commencing. So your classes and exam period, all inclusive, our semester 1 would start in late February or early March, and conclude in late June with the end of exams. Classes for semester 2 would typically start at the end of July, and exams would finish around the end of November. Each of these semesters has 12 weeks of classes. You have a mid-semester break, which we're currently in at the moment in Melbourne, and then we have a week of study leave and a 3-week exam period. Your Australian student visa actually allows you to stay and travel in Australia until the end of July if you're with us for semester 1, or until the end of January if you started with us in semester 2. So a little bit about your studies, and you will find that it is a bit different to what you're used to at UW-Madison. Having studied in the US myself, I found, the way that courses are structured are quite different. And so it's just something that you get used to pretty quickly when you first start your exchange. So we call our courses units, and a majority of those units are worth 6 credit points. And normally that will equate to 4 US credits. A typical full-time load at Monash would be 24 Monash credit points, which would normally be 4 units. And I know for some of you that might actually be less than what you would be used to. But as I said, the structure of our studies is quite different. And so it does make it manageable for you rather than to be what we would consider overloading. Each unit would have approximately 3 to 4 contact hours per week. Now that could increase depending on what you're studying. So perhaps if you were doing engineering or science, there could be some slightly more contact hours per week. But typically most of these units would include lectures and tutorials, labs or studios. Our lectures typically consist of a large number of students. Obviously things are a little bit different in 2020 and we're studying remotely. So there could be some changes from 2021, but normally they are larger groups, and then we split students into smaller personalised tutorial groups. You'll find that assessment does vary for each unit, and it is quite different from the US. We don't have that same level of continual assessment that you typically find in American colleges. So you may only have a couple of assessment pieces per semester. That might be a written assignment or a group assignment, and then there'll normally be an exam at the end of the semester. All of our units are completed within a semester, so you won't be coming in the middle or missing the end of a full year unit, because none of them take place over an entire year. And at Monash, we believe exchange is interdisciplinary. So if your academic advisor allows it, we encourage you to study across faculties and subject areas. So if you're able to and you're interested in doing so, you might want to complete some of your electives here, plus some of your major requirements, some of your general education requirements. You can study across campuses and across faculties, and we do encourage you to broaden your education perspective. I've put a link down here to our handbook, which has got a list of all of our units that we teach and their descriptions. And then I've also put in here what are some pre-approved units for UW-Madison students. So these are students who've already attended Monash in the past, and they have requested for credit transfer, and that's how it's been approved for them for their degree. So it can be a really good starting off point as you're trying to narrow down our studies at Monash. We have some flexible study packages that are available to incoming students, and these sort of showcase a number of different options with flexibility around what you can study. And 2 of these packages available to exchange students are Back for Summer and our specialisations. So there's no separate application process for these packages. They're already available to you, and you simply select from them in the study plan section of your application. So there's nothing formal about it. It's just trying to reduce the enormity of our handbook of study options for you. So Back for Summer units are taught in our semester 1. So that's our period between February and June. And all of these units are assessed entirely during your semester. So you won't have an exam at the end of the semester. That means you don't have to stay until the exam period, as students are typically required to do, which means that you can actually leave Australia as soon as your classes end. And that would typically be at the end of May each year. This means you can return back to the US for a summer internship, or if you were looking to do some summer classes at home. There are units available across a number of faculties and at undergraduate and postgraduate level. They're taught at our main campuses, Clayton and Caulfield. And it means that you actually get the best of both worlds, and you can really make the most out of your university year. So you can have an exchange semester followed by an internship, and you're not having to make the decision about, do I do an internship and therefore miss out on exchange, or do I do exchange but worry about whether or not I'll be able to get an internship in the future. And we've got a link there to all of our options for summer studies. Our specialisations are offered in semester 1 and semester 2, and they're interdisciplinary packages of units based around some themes. And so essentially we're just trying to take the enormity of our handbook and show you how you can organise your studies around a particular area that may be of interest, or it may be related to your major or your minor at UW-Madison. So the various themes are pre-medicine, pre-health, sustainable development, Australian environments and biodiversity, Great Southern Land, Australian and Indigenous cultures, intercultural leadership, and innovation and entrepreneurship. And essentially this is just helping to simplify your study planning, but it gives you a lot of flexibility of choice. So you can pick a couple of units out of those specializations and then pick a couple of completely separate units if you want to. It's just grouping them together so that if you did want to really delve into some of these study areas, that you can. So a little bit about life on campus. There are more than 100 clubs and societies to join, and they really do span over a huge breadth of areas. They might be language or culture based. It could be around food. It could be around being outdoors or theatre or music. There's even one around Quidditch, I believe. So there really are a number of different ways for you to meet other students at Monash and really to create your community. There are a number of camps, events, and student lounges on campus. There are volunteering and career development opportunities. So if you're wanting to enhance your time on exchange at Monash, there are actually some really practical ways that you can do so by getting that experience in Australia. We have full health and wellbeing facilities. So particularly on our main campus at Clayton, there's a full medical centre, a pharmacist, a dentist, and also counselling services. We have a full gym with a pool and recreational sport opportunities and social sport opportunities. There's a renowned art museum at our Caulfield campus. Across the campuses, we have academic and recreational libraries. And at Clayton campus, we have a leading edge performing arts complex, which opened last year. And it has a fabulous theatre, a jazz club, and a sound gallery. And across our campuses, there are a number of cafes and restaurants, including at Clayton, a student-run, not-for-profit vegan and vegetarian restaurant. Our on-campus accommodation is through Monash Residential Services, and most students live in our Clayton Residential Village, which is traditional dorms. There's also urban community, which is studio apartments. And as I mentioned before, there's no accommodation at Caulfield campus, it's all at Clayton. Residential village is, while it is a traditional dorm style of living, it's quite different to the US. They are all single person rooms, so you don't have a roommate, which can be quite exciting to have your own space. You do have shared bathrooms and kitchens, And all of the buildings are co-ed. However, you can request to live down the end with people from the same gender as you. Laundry and all of your amenities and services are included. So the only other expenses that you have are around your meals. Now, there's no formal dining commons and therefore there's no meal plans. We have a really affordable cafe that's in the residential village complex and they've got great stuff and it is super cheap. And then you're also close to on-campus restaurants and we have a full supermarket on campus too. There are a lot of social activities throughout the semester and we've found that for particularly exchange and study abroad students who are with us for a more limited time, it's a really great way of making friends and meeting people because you come onto campus even a little bit earlier than the Monash Abroad orientation and you get to meet people and really start to find your foot. And especially if you're meeting Australian students, they tend to have cars and then they can drive you places, which is perfect. So UW-Madison students are prioritised for on-campus housing as long as you apply by the deadline. If you miss the deadline or you prefer to live off campus, then our off-campus housing service can assist you in finding somewhere to live in one of our awesome Melbourne neighbourhoods. The eligibility criteria is that you've completed at least 1 year of your degree by the commencement of your exchange. You need to have a minimum GPA of 3.0 and ours is also on a 4.0 scale. You need to have available to you the minimum full-time load, which for us is 18 credit points. And because that's a requirement of your studies with us and also your student visa. You also need to be nominated by the International Academic Programs Office at UW-Madison. In terms of your fees and costs, your tuition fees are waived by Monash under the exchange program, so you'll pay your usual fees to UW-Madison. The Australian visa is around 600 Australian dollars. The exchange rate is pretty good for you guys at the moment, so that would probably be around 400 US dollars or potentially less. We've got overseas student health cover, which is an Australian government insurance requirement. Your on-campus accommodation ranges from about 250 to 300 Australian dollars a week. And as I mentioned, that does include your laundry and your amenities. Then some other costs that you might want to consider are certainly your airfare, your travel insurance, meals, books, entertainment, mobile phone plan, and of course your traveling. So in order to apply, you first need to apply to the IAP who will nominate you to Monash. We will then invite you to apply to the exchange program. Our deadlines for February commencement is the 15th of October and for semester 2 commencement is the 15th of March. I should mention that Monash University has made the difficult decision to cancel semester 1 programs for 2021 and therefore our next recruitment period will be for semester 2 2021, which is July commencement or fall in the US. And those are our contact details. I just want to tell you a little bit about Melbourne so that you know where you're going to. Some people aren't as familiar with Melbourne as they might be with other cities in Australia. It is consistently voted world's most livable city, as I mentioned earlier, and that's due to a number of different criteria around the general stability, our environment, our outstanding healthcare system and education system, our culture and our infrastructure. We have really accessible public transportation that can get you all around the city. We have around 5 million people live in Melbourne, and it's quite a densely populated city, and it is really easy and fun to get around and visit all of the different neighbourhoods. So it's quite an urbanised place. We have trains, trams and buses that will take you wherever you want to go in metropolitan Melbourne. And as exchange students, you actually get a discount on our travel passes. We have a fantastic outdoor lifestyle, and people really do take advantage of some lovely beaches and all of the parks and areas to go outside. Beautiful weather, and we don't have very cold winters at all. I'd say if it gets to about 60 degrees Fahrenheit, we will probably put on all the layers that we have, and the heating will go on, and that's our version of cold in Melbourne. We're the culture capital of Australia from all of the different events that we have throughout the calendar year. And we have fantastic architecture and buildings throughout the city. We're also known for our coffee and cafe culture in Melbourne. We take coffee really quite seriously here, and going and meeting friends and colleagues and family for a coffee is kind of just the done thing in Melbourne, and always has been. We have an incredible arts and theatre culture in Melbourne. My personal favourite is the Melbourne Theatre Company that hosts incredible productions throughout the year. We have all sorts of events throughout the year. The Melbourne International Comedy Festival is a highlight. But I would say throughout the year you can get incredible productions. We also have great productions on campus too. Musicals come through Melbourne as well. And a local music scene too, and it's a really thriving culture to be part of. It's a really safe and inclusive city. We're really proud of embracing all of the people that make up our Melbourne community. As I mentioned, Monash has around a third of our students are international students. And you'll find that a lot of Australians, including myself, were not actually born in Australia. We're naturalised. And so it's a really welcoming place where we celebrate all of the diversity that we have. We're a little bit sporting mad in Australia in general, but particularly in Melbourne. And we host a number of world-class events. So the Australian Grand Prix, we host the Australian Open Tennis every January. And we also have our Spring Racing Carnival, which is horse racing that takes place very soon actually each year. And all of these events are really fun to be a part of, and really show the flavour of Melbourne and Melburnians. And then our flagship sport is Australian rules football. And you'll find very quickly that someone will invite you to support the same team as they do. It's a really fun, fast-paced sport, and they give away free tickets to international students. So very quickly you'll become part of that very important part of Australian lifestyle. We have stunning parks and beaches throughout Melbourne and just outside of Melbourne, and all of this is really accessible to you when you're living on campus at Monash. As is some beautiful places to travel to, and you'll also find that there are some clubs and societies on campus that do trips away, particularly around our beautiful state of Victoria, but then also further afield. And we really encourage you to travel while you're in Australia and make the most of your time here. So we very much hope to see you soon on campus, and thank you for joining me. And if there's any questions, please let me know and I'm happy to answer them. So in terms of cancellations for the future, we have cancelled spring 2021 due to the pandemic. This was a decision that we've made very early in order for students to be able to plan for their future semesters. At this stage, we are very hopeful that we will be able to proceed with fall 2021, which would be the Monash semester 2. We will take into consideration early in 2021 the state of the world and how things are proceeding in Melbourne as well, particularly. Currently, Australian borders are closed to all non-Australians, and therefore, actually, we can't get anyone into Australia at this time anyway. So we'll be proceeding with as much caution so that we can be as safe as possible. If you are wanting to study at Monash in the spring of 2022, then you would be applying to us in around 1 year from now. So you'd be applying in September 2021 to join us in spring of 2022. So you've got plenty of time to plan your degree progression and to work out what you want to study with us. And we very, very much hope that, that it will be a very safe time for students to be travelling and experiencing our program. In terms of the competitiveness of the admissions process, there's really a main admissions process, which is actually on the UW-Madison side. So you're firstly applying to them in order to go on exchange in general. So it's meeting UW-Madison eligibility criteria in the first instance, and then selecting Monash as your first preference. In all honesty, it can really depend each semester with home universities as to how competitive it is. We have a number of spots available for UW-Madison students, and given the number of semesters that we've had to cancel, this is now our third semester that we've cancelled in a row. So we're really open to welcoming a number of students from UW-Madison as you are a key partner of ours and a very important partner of ours. So, so we will hope to have a number of places available. And so I think, you know, in order to put yourself in a good position to get selected for Monash, it's just ensuring that you keep up your grades in the meantime to put yourself in a great place in case it does come down to grades as being a determining factor as to who will get a place.